funny that it says we. Thank you. All right.
You're welcome.
Good. All right. Well, we have a couple things I thought we would talk about. First of all, it'd be, or maybe not first, but we will talk about the information I sent in the video about the increase in dues. I think we need to talk through that a bit. Allison has asked a question too, has some questions about how chapters handle different levels of membership, especially like associates or people taking leave, going on break, that sort of thing. Maybe we can give her some help with that. And then otherwise, just anything else that you have that you would like to ask each other. Does that sound okay? All right. So let's talk about the dues increase. What are your thoughts or concerns or outbursts about that?
Outbursts.
Has everybody actually seen the video? And
Did you all see it and you know what we're talking about? Okay, good.
You know what I missed, Sally, was when that takes place.
The dues increase takes place with your billing in May 2020.
Okay.
So that and the rolling the AET price takes effect a year later, and with the billing in May of 2026. I think your financial people need to have some time to work out how to do that, particularly if you escrow dues, escrow that. If you're people just paying a lump sum, that's not so hard. But
Did the financial people get that video also, or is it something that we'll educate them about?
I have a meeting with finance coordinators next Saturday, but I think it will go out to all members before that. Is that correct, Sally?
It is. I just sent it to the e-blast that should be coming out in a day or two, has a link to it. That goes to all members. And then as team leaders, since you've had the heads up about it, you can prepare to talk to them about it or make sure they saw it. So. Any other
It's
questions?
a shame.
It's a
sorry.
shame. Go ahead, Cindy.
It's a shame that you know, to have to include the all events ticket in the entire membership, but it was inevitable, and it makes an awful lot of sense because, you know, fewer membership, fewer people at contests. It was just I'm sure that was a difficult decision, but it makes sense.
Thank you. We did talk about it a lot, and we had several. Jan is our finance coordinator for the region, and she presented several options for, you know, this kind of increase with this price AET, and we went through a number of combinations and decided on this one, which was maybe it was probably larger by a little bit than most of them, but we also thought, and I think Diana used the term rip off the Band-Aid, you know, just do it rather than have to do a small increase now and then come back, say, in 2 years and say, well, here we are again. Now we need to raise it again and again and again. So this is a large enough increase, we felt, that we don't have to do anything else for quite a while. We made it 12 or so years on the last one. So, Beth Ann, do you have your hand up?
I'm sorry, I just missed when that email will go out to the membership.
It will be in the e-blast, which is going out. I'm not exactly sure, but I think tomorrow or within a day or two. And there
sometime this coming week for sure.
Yeah, a little article with a link to the video in it. Hey, Betsy.
I'm curious if this puts all of our dues for all the courses at the same landing spot. Like, I think we're going to be around 400. Is everyone around the same amount?
When you say 400, you mean 400 a year?
Yes.
Dues are actually kind of all over the board.
Okay.
That's probably somewhere in the ballpark, but I know many courses that are higher than that.
Oh, okay. So I was curious about that. Like, if there's a continuum, because I think that's going to be I think we're going from like 250 to 400, so it feels like a substantial jump.
Mhm.
And I don't know how our course members are going to respond. So I was wondering if any of you were feeling the same about that.
Well,
Our dues are almost 500.
now is this just dues or are you including the AETs? Because AETs are something everyone pays separately for 95% of the time anyways, right? So, so the dues portion is not really going up that substantially per member, but if you take the AET in, then yes, it does seem like it's a lot more, but they're paying that anyways. It's just they're paying it to the chorus as, or, you know, at one lump sum at a different time. So again, that'll be each course, up to each course, how they're going to collect that portion. So that might not change for you guys.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
it does. Yeah, I've got to talk to our treasurer about
Yeah.
how we're going to do that.
Well,
Uh,
and some choruses pay for part of the AET right now, and some pay all of it. So it'll be up to each chorus, as Diana said, to figure out what makes the most sense. We had, as Sally said in her video, 73% of the total membership came to contest last year, 77% of chapter members, people who are currently active in chapters, attended convention. So we're hoping that for the vast majority of the membership, it's not a huge shift. It's just how, pardon me, courses can choose to escrow it or not escrow it. And I'll be talking to finance coordinators about that, about the pros and cons. And I have the opportunity to go to international at the end of the month, and I'll have a chance to talk to other finance coordinators in the regions that already do this. So I can talk to them about how they implemented, what their chapters found to be useful. So we'll have lots of opportunity to chat with your finance folks about the best ways and kind of hopefully not make the same mistakes that other chapters have made across the country, so we can actually benefit from those 8 or 9 regions that are already doing it.
and Jan, is that next weekend you said with the finance people?
Correct.
Okay.
So make sure your finance people know that and attend that. That would be good.
Yeah, we had great turnout there at our first meeting, and so I'm hoping that, I'm guessing after the video goes out, my attendance will skyrocket, so.
Hopefully, well, that'd be good. If they were all there, that would be wonderful. Give the message once, perfect.
And one thing that Sally made sure to mention was that we are required by international to hold a convention. And so all members should take part of that, even if they don't go to convention. And that's our way to capture some of those funds to help, you know, help offset some of those costs. So
Yeah,
because we have members, you know, all of us have members that every year for some reason can't go, but they don't have to, they're still going to contribute to the region as a whole because of it. And we thought that was a little more fair, if that's the right word.
It is.
equitable. And many of those who don't go will stay home. They watch it on the webcast, which is also an expense to us to provide. So in that way, you know, they are contributing. So we know it sounds big, but it'll be kind of up to you and your finance people and us in any way we can to help soften the blow and explain it in a way that is clear and kind of outlines our thinking. We're not just trying to grab money. We need the money. A convention costs us between $60,000 and $70,000. It's huge.
Yeah.
We're also looking at finding venues that are less costly, but it's difficult to find places that have everything we need, have the staging and the technicians and the lighting and access, and still can have places for all of us to stay and meet. So it's not an easy task, but that's something that our convention team is working on as well. Cindy?
Just to confirm, the addition of the AET isn't until the next year, right?
Correct.
2026. Okay,
Yeah,
Thank
so I'll have
you.
lots of time to figure out again whether you want to
right,
escrow and
right.
and because it's going to be part of the regional assessment for chapters, it's one of the things that gets the most confusing for chapters. So I'll do my little soapbox about regional assessment. Is that we assess chapters for the number of eligible members they have. They aren't, and so we look at your roster on April 30 and we count. I mean, I have names on them, but I count how many folks you have. And if they're legacy folks, then they don't pay the regional dues. If they're youth, they pay half. I mean, so I have a cute little spreadsheet that does all that math for me. And I'm just going to add to the math and add the regional assessment in for everybody, with the exception of a few VIPs. But that will become part of your assessment. And we don't assess members, we assess chapters. And so based on your numbers, how you collect that money from your members, or if you collect that money from your members, I don't really care. I'm going to be honest. You know, so it's about, even though you're looking at individuals, I'm looking at numbers, and that contest fee, that convention fee will be part of that number. So that is why chapters will have great flexibility to whether you want to collect half of it or you want to collect none of it, and you're going to do it all on April 30 when I give you your number, and you're going to say, okay, you lucky, 20 that are here are the ones that are going to pay. However, but it will give you the maximum flexibility. We'll talk about all those different options, because I know for different chapters, it's going to be very different based on their culture and how they currently assess their dues. And I think there's going to be lots of different ways that people can do it that's going to work the best for them. So hopefully we'll have lots and lots of time to talk about it and figure out the best method.
Okay. Any other comments or questions about that? Allie?
I think for the leadership team, if you can continue to layer on the goals that you all established last week that you articulated at the front end of the call, along with the message of the membership dues, there's a real value that the region brings each member. And if we can tap the resources that are available, and you all, are articulating that you want to make those more easy to find and all that good stuff, right? Like those kinds of messages, I think will go a long way for helping people receive and consume the concept of, that their dues are going up, because there's a lot that we can get from our region as a whole. And there's probably a huge percentage of members who are not tapping the resources and the education as much as they could. And I think as long as you can continue to push that, it will help people accept that raised membership due a lot more easily.
Thank you. I think that's a great suggestion. I wrote it down. And we'll
I was gonna say, Allie, that's exactly what we talked about. It's like she read our mind there, Allie. I mean, that's exactly our thought was, we do provide a lot of.
Yes, you do. And so to just keep communicating that, I think, finding ways to make it very easy for people to find and access the resources is going to go a long way.
And another thing we considered is other hobbies people have, or even other musical groups, singing groups or whatever, ask for a lot more money for you to join their groups, to be a part of some of those things. So this hobby that we love so much, it still isn't that much money when you compare to other things. So
right.
No equipment required.
Exactly.
Don't even have to buy clubs.
Local instrument, right? And your time and your dues and your costumes and, a few other things thrown in there, but music, but it's worth it, or we wouldn't do it. It wouldn't matter so much to us. So, well, thank you. Thank you for not going, oh my God, what were you guys thinking when you did that? Appreciate your comments, and thank you very much. And now I think if I keep trying to keep it in front of me, Allie, let's address your question, and I'm just we'll read it if that's okay.
Sure.
Hoping we could talk about how chapters are handling different levels of membership, specifically pertaining to non-singing members who might be on leave, taking a break, or can only participate on sporadic occasions. Probably kind of a big topic. It's a good thing we have our membership coordinator here too.
Yeah, and our membership coordinator couldn't make that call today that they have, so she asked if I could ask you all, and she'll continue to reach out to other coordinators, I think. But the bottom line is for Song of Seattle, we have our regular membership dues, and then we have an associate membership level where if somebody has like just too much going on with work or has medical issues or something where they need to take a hiatus for a half year, then they get reduced fees. They still have access to all of our resources. They're still in all of our communications, but they are not coming to rehearsals, and they're not committed to it, and they are not necessarily committed to performing at the regional convention. So and so what we're running into now is that we have a few members who are actually being gone for longer than that 6-month period. And they still want to stay connected with the chorus and be a part of the chorus. But we are also very cognizant of, we don't want to have too big of a percentage in our associate membership level. So, like 20% is, I think, what our threshold is. And then after that, we have to pretty much deny people. And we don't feel like it's necessarily fair to deny people a hiatus if there are like, a couple other people that are wanting to stay connected, and yet they're not going to be committed to the chorus, we know, for like the full year or maybe even longer, right? So so that's kind of where we're at right now. Like, we're trying to figure out how can we still keeping people feeling connected to the chorus and feel invited to stay with the chorus. And how does that look? How could that look for us with regard to paying dues and access to the resources that we have?
I'm curious, what's your downside, or what's the concern about having people stay on associate status if they're not going to come to rehearsal anyway, or they're not in a place in their life where they can fully commit? Is there a downside to keeping them as associate, even if it's a higher percentage?
There's a cap in Choir Genius, there's a cap on member numbers that you might bump into depending on what your license is with Choir Genius.
So we don't have that license, but that would obviously be an issue for those of you who do have it. But that's a great question, Jan. I should take that back to our group and ask, like, are we? Because right now it's in our standing rules, that 20% cap. So we would have to make some changes to our standing rules, but that can be done, obviously. So, I think the challenge for us is, as you know, we're small, right? So if you end up with a handful, you hit that threshold. So, so that's it.
I've found that associate membership is a way to keep people who just are on the cusp, but just can't come right now, but it keeps them engaged with the chorus.
Right.
And, oftentimes you get them back. Sometimes you don't, because their life changes in the other direction. And, keeping that, just that connection, I think, has made a big difference. And we don't do associate until you're gone for a year, or we have like a leave situation, but that's a full paying dues.
Wow. Okay.
And so at the point at which somebody says, I'm not going to be able to do this for a while, then we offer associate as the next level. Well, hey, do you want to stay engaged here? We can, and that's been a good thing for us, actually, to keep people in the loop, and they get the emails that way. That we do have Choir Genius, and so that keeps them getting the weekly emails and that kind of stuff, and keeps people engaged. But I think there's more bonus to having them be part of you than not. If they're, regardless,
Right.
you can't make them come if they're not there. I mean, if they're not, there brain-wise.
And
And you guys don't escrow, right? So you're not having them pay their international or regional dues, correct?
You know what? I have to check with Nancy, but I think we do the regional. We don't our regional?
I don't think so, because she said, I got to bill everybody. Every time I send her the bill, she goes, okay, I'll let them know that they have to pay. So I
Okay.
don't think you escrow your region.
Okay, we don't do either. Okay, we might actually end up doing that with these increases just to make it easier for people. We'll see,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say there, yeah, with, the three, so there are the two membership levels. There's the regular member and associate member. Some choruses have an emeritus status level, but that's up to the chorus to determine what that means for them. It could be a retired member or, you know, somebody like that, but that's generally one who's no longer ever gonna sing again. But I know that, ASC, we have several members in associate status that don't even live in Alaska, but it's their way to support the chorus. And so that was my concern, as I mentioned to Sally about when we were talking about the dues increase, paying for the AATs, that we may lose them as associate members because they're now gonna, you know, they don't live in Alaska anymore. They don't compete with us at all. They just want to support. This is their donation towards the chorus to support that. So that might be a small change there, but I'm not too worried about it if that happens because we've just been in, you know, they're still part of the chorus and but the leave, you are correct about the leave of absence. If somebody goes on leave of absence, you do collect for the full dues. And so generally that needs a board approval as well before a member goes on leave of absence. And it can be for 3 or 6 months or whatever. So keeping them an associate member level is, you know, I know you have a 20% threshold is a fabulous idea to maintain that. And you might maybe have to look at your standing rules again. So just a thought. So
Beth Ann and then Cindy.
Northwest Harmony is in the middle of figuring out a new, I don't even know that we'd call it member status. We're developing an overtones group of people who want to support us but don't want to sing with us. So we have people who, for whatever reason, can't or won't sing, but they love the music and they come to the events, and we're actually creating an overtone status for people to come and, you know, sell nuts at our contests or at our performances, that kind of thing. And we hadn't talked about, we communicate as a chorus with Slack so that we can keep them in Slack forever. And they can still stay connected to the chorus. So that might be another option for some people.
Cindy?
So we don't have an associate member level in our course or a specifically delineated associate member thing. How does that affect their dues? I mean, if they're a member of your chorus on any level, they have to pay international and regional, right? So then do you just reduce your chorus dues
right.
for them?
So just I'll use ASC since I know ASC. Our current dues for regular membership is $50 a month. So associate members is $35 a month. And if they switch to associate status, then it's $35 a month, but we don't escrow any of our stuff. So when that assessment comes in, we pay their assessment. That's part of their thing. We figured our finance coordinators years ago said, we're not messing with it, this escrow stuff. You know, if you join us and you pay your dues, we're covering you. And if you leave a month later, you don't get anything back. It's done, you know, whatever you've donated, thank you for the donation type thing. So it's in our standing rules and it's much easier for us to deal with it that way instead of trying to escrow. So.
Yeah.
And Olympia's is $60 a year because it hasn't been changed in 1,000 years. And so it really needs to be, you know, so for us associates really are just staying with the core.
Yeah.
And I was just going to let Beth Ann know that Helena Express Singers has your overtones. If you want to talk to them, Sandy was talking about it last weekend. So they've got one set up.
That's cool. I like that.
I like that idea.
Mhm.
Diana, what is the emeritus status? Is there any dues with that? How does that?
Well, that's why I said we don't do it. I know there are choruses that do it, and it's sort of like the overtone thing where they are still associated with the chorus and they can be involved in in helping out with the chorus and stuff like that. So each chorus, the ones I've seen have done it a little bit differently, so there's no good answer on that. If you go out and look, are you part of the SAI Conversations Facebook group?
Yeah,
So they just did a big thing about people
Okay.
asking about emeritus status, and there was a lot of good suggestions on
I'll
that.
go look at that. I
Yeah, go
don't
look
get
at
on
that page.
Facebook enough. Okay, thank you.
I was surprised to learn that the version that Helen Express has, they're not even SAI members anymore. They don't pay international or regional dues. They just are affiliated with their chorus, but they don't sing. And that is one thing about associate membership too. At least I think that's it. And I think that's a given. I asked Diana, is
Yes,
that if you're associate, you don't perform. You cannot perform.
you do not perform.
That's
correct.
part of the SAI regs, that if you're associate.
And we do have some members who are associate for part of the year, but because of their life schedule, like everyone has this life schedules. And we have it in our standing rules that if you expect to compete at the upcoming competition, you have to become a full member again within 5 or 6 months before. So whatever, if we're on an international cycle or a regional cycle, we have it in there that you must be full member status again to get back in the group. And so that might be something that Song of Seattle can look at as well, as far as changing some of the verbiage. And I know Sid's totally on top of it.
Yeah, she is. And we don't have a length of time you have to be a member, but you do have to pass an audition again to actually perform. So,
Okay,
so we have that in there. Yeah.
I think ours is that members are directed discretion.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's super helpful. Thank you.
Welcome.
Former chorus had one of those overtone groups, only we called them extension chords, CHORDS.
Love it.
Love that. That's a
Love
great-
it.
That's perfect, actually.
Beth Ann asked in the chat about if International was planning an increase. I have not heard of any because they did just increase it last year
Right.
from 100, I believe, to 125. So hopefully there's nothing looming with that. Maybe we'll hear
Another one.
something next week at International when we meet with them, but I would be
I
very
wouldn't think
surprised.
so.
Yeah, I'd be surprised.
That was their first increase in several years too, if
Quite a
I'm
while,
not
yeah.
mistaken.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Beth Ann, go ahead.
I'm just picking up, I think Diana mentioned that the RLT members have buddy choruses that they reach out to,
Mhm.
but I don't know that Northwest Harmony has one.
You did, but it was with the previous member, so I was reaching out to her. I'm their coordinator, I'm their buddy, and now
Okay.
that I just got everything updated yesterday for you.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I reached out to mine, but apparently I used an old list because, so
Okay.
maybe I'm yours. I don't know. And that's why
I'll thank you for that reminder, Sally. I need to
You
send that out
send
to
me
RLT.
the new
Yes, that I didn't know of the new changes, Beth Ann, so.
I'm glad you mentioned that too. That's something I need to catch up on. Cindy?
Diana, what was the name of the Facebook group that you mentioned earlier?
It's the SAI and it's conversations.
Conversation.
It's if you're not part of it, I could probably send you an invite to it.
I am not.
It's just it's a really good resource for a lot of things. And sometimes it gets a little silly, but I think there's a lot of good resources. out
Diana, can you send me a link too, if you can, or an invitation? This is
Okay.
Beth Ann.
I had to look to see who was speaking.
It's the conversation, the unofficial Sweet Adelines chat.
Oh, yeah, conversations. It doesn't start, that's right. I
Right.
apologize. It starts with conversation.
Say capitalized sensations, conversations.
Yeah,
Love
I will do that right now, you guys.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Of course. Invite.
What else
Good.
do we have to talk about? Anything else that's on your mind? Cindy?
So, Candy Johnson has been our director for pushing 50 years, 40 some years. And I'm suspecting that she'll probably retire in the next few years, 2 or 3 years or something like that. We have never paid her a cent. She would not accept any money other than, of course, gifts and travel and, stuff like that. But we're pretty certain that in this day and age that a new director will need to be paid. So we're stashing money for that regard. But I sent an email out to the presidents of our choruses in Region 13 a while back, asking how much each chorus pays their director. So, I don't want you, if you're sensitive about saying it in a group like this, if you haven't responded to that, I would sure love to get a response because my goodness, there's a wide variety of amounts that are paid to directors in our region.
Mhm.
Betsy, you're from Bozeman, right? Yeah, I did get a response from you
Okay,
guys. So
And
mhm,
Cindy, I was planning to get back to you on that. I actually spoke first to my board because you sent
Sure.
that message right before we had a board meeting, and it was interesting to your point, like while we were talking, one of the board members did a quick Google search on Sweet Adeline's director fees, and it was a wide range, right? It was like
mhm,
anywhere from $250 to $500 or something, or $25 to $500, right? Like it was a
Yeah.
really crazy wide range. So it's going to be interesting to see what you all encounter, because I think it's going to have to be a negotiation based off of what your course can really afford, right? And what people are willing to accept for payment for their
Exactly.
services, right? So, but
Yeah.
I'll reach out to you separately. I had talked with Paula about it as well. This Paula Davis this week at our rehearsal, and she has interesting perspectives too, right? Because she's done as much as what your current director is doing, been paid nothing
Yeah.
in a Sweet Adeline's chorus that she directed, to, if you look at some of the massive large choruses that we have, those directors are getting paid a lot more, and
Absolutely.
understandably so anyway, I'll reach out to you
And-
separately.
And some choruses have a relationship with the director, like the director is one of you,
Yeah.
as opposed to some choruses, they are contracted, they're just
Right.
a contracted relationship. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
know. I just real
Beth Ann.
real quick, I have to go because I actually have my membership coordinators call in just a couple minutes. So
Hey,
they-
tell them
I
hi
know.
for us.
I will.
Yes.
I just wanted to thank you guys for your time. I hope I was helpful and
You were
didn't
super helpful.
Sally's toes too much.
Thanks for being here,
ladies.
Diana.
Good
You're
talking.
great.
Okay.
Thanks, Diana.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Beth Ann?
I just wanted to throw out for you, as you're considering this, our director drives a long distance every week. And so we infused mileage into her pay
Sure.
scale. And I
Yeah.
suspect you'll have mileage involved in because of where you are. So
Yeah, we'll see. Mhm.
keep in mind that that's another possibility.
Right. Thank you.
How big are you right now, Cindy?
I'm gonna say 20.
Yeah.
We have probably 18 people who are regular, and some rehearsals have, well,
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, I know.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Olympia had, exactly the same circumstances as you're facing now, because they had a director for 50 years, Jack Anderson, who never took a dime, and then Dottie after him.
Wow.
And so we had it was for us pre-COVID, and that made a little bit of difference because we were a little bit bigger, but our dues went up dramatically in order to get Ted Chamberlain, and we went from 0 to 500. And honestly, we obviously couldn't sustain that. And now we do have a director from within our chorus again, but unfortunately, and so she takes a much lesser amount, but I would start, if you can get a commitment from Candy about what her timeline is, or if she's even thinking about retirement. I'll tell you, if you had a
Yes, she is.
2-year timeline, that is not enough time. It's just,
Oh,
the sooner that kind of when she's thinking, and not be looking to force her out, but to let her
Plan.
understand how hard she's going to be to replace, and that you need as much time as possible to be able to find that person, because it's tough if you don't have a growing director in your chorus.
Mhm.
It's so hard for us. We have recruited several times, as you know, for directors, and it's been hard every single time.
Yeah. Well, some people, I mean, how will we find somebody with that much musical knowledge,
We won't.
theory, and an ear to hear it, and the complete understanding of barbershop harmony? And I mean,
You
good
aren't, you're
luck.
not going to, and that's part of what you have to decide is what's your
Right.
baseline? Are you looking for a musician who can learn barbershop? Are you looking for a barbershopper who can learn music? I mean,
Right.
you
Right.
have to decide amongst your chorus about where your sweet
Mhm.
spot is and what you can. We decided we wanted a musician because there's so much great education out there for
Yeah.
us, to be able to send a director to learn about barbershop, because we've got so many resources for that.
Mhm.
So that's
That's
was
very
our
helpful.
decision. But
I appreciate that. Thank
Yeah.
you. I appreciate that.
And the other thing I would just throw out is that Melanie has connections with the Men's Barbershop Society that we've never even dreamed of. And we're finding all sorts of new coaches and all sorts of new opportunities in that group. So don't be afraid to mind that
Mhm.
resource.
Mhm.
We have 5 men's barbershoppers in Missoula right now.
wow.
There you go.
Yeah.
5.
Five
Boom.
shoppers
Okay,
or
well,
five choruses?
5 people.
Oh,
5
Yeah.
people in the men's
Gold mine.
chorus.
Yeah.
okie doke.
All right.
Yeah, no, not 5
I was gonna say,
choruses.
wow, 5 choruses. Holy cow.
No. Well, thank you. I appreciate your comments. It's very
Sure.
helpful.
I wish you all the luck in the world.
Yes.
No kidding.
As do all of us, I'm sure. We've been there or thought about being there, dreaded being in that position. It's no fun.
Mhm.
For
Well,
sure.
keep our eyes and ears open, help in any way we can, and know
Yeah.
we're
Thank
rooting
you.
for you.
Yeah. Well, we do have a wonderful music department at our university, and that
Good possibility.
provides resources. Mhm. So, but thank you. I appreciate all
sure.
of that.
And what other questions or topics do we need to discuss today? Have we run the course for this morning? Talked about a lot. I mean, I wish more people had been here
Yeah.
because there's a lot of good stuff. Beth Ann?
I just we're not struggling. We're doing fine, actually. We're growing, and that's good. But we're at a place, Nancy Kurth left us, and with her went a wealth of information and knowledge, and also her willingness to do a lot of things that we now as an RM or as a management team are having to pick up. And COVID made it possible for us to continue to meet and not have to do much of anything, because we couldn't fundraise, we couldn't do anything. But now we're kind of up against the wall, and we're going, oh yeah, we have to fundraise and we have to do all this stuff. And where's Nancy? And because she's not here, and because Melanie, has another life and she's 100 miles away, the chorus is having to step up. And I'm not sure that people get that yet, that there is a need for human interaction and energy being devoted to our activities. So I don't know if anyone else has run into that, but I'm like, I don't know how to fix this. So any thought? Because I'm at the point, it's like, maybe we need to have a moratorium and just not do anything for a year until we figure out how committed we can get our people to be. But I
Mhm.
don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
Okay. Well, that would be one option for sure. I would say you're not alone in that again. The old saying that, 20% of your membership does all the work and the others are
Mhm.
benefit from it. I should point out Jan, who's our team leader, she's very good at matching people's skill set with jobs that need doing. And
Wow.
she's so not afraid to take somebody to lunch and say, hey, I think you'd be really good at this. And, basically talk them into doing something they didn't volunteer for, but they will accept if you reach out to them one-on-one like that. So I think
Mhm.
one-on-one thing is good. And another
Mhm.
thing we did at one point, we were going to have an event, which was a fundraising event, and it was one for which we needed to sell tickets, and people were not selling tickets. And we had kind of a down and dirty talk. It's like, you want a chorus, you want to do things, you want music, you want to go to contests, you want costumes, then we have to sell tickets, and every single one of you has to sell tickets.
Right.
It's
And I sicked Sally on them just like that. She was great.
Yeah. in my teacher voice. Every single one of you, it's not up to 5 people. It's every single person. And they rose to that occasion, I will say. They accepted that challenge and they sold tickets and we did great. So
Mhm.
And they sold tickets and learned that the sky didn't fall and that their friends didn't leave.
Right.
And actually their friends
Right.
came next year because they really liked the event.
Yeah.
and if
Cool.
somebody said
Exactly.
no,
Yeah.
it wasn't the worst thing in the world that could happen to them. So
The other thing that's happening is that we're getting some new members in who are younger, which is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
But they've got families and lives, and so
They're
they're
in a
very
different place.
limited in terms of what they're willing to commit to.
So
So that's
then you
another layer.
yeah, you have to figure out how to like match people up, make buddies to do things together, right? And I don't know, we obviously all the choruses run into this, but I literally on our sign up table where at our rehearsal where you check in, I have our mission and our vision with all of our goals that we have established. And I have written right on them, I have several copies of it. And at the top of each one, it says, how can you help? Where can you help? And, that is part of the business portion of our rehearsals every week that I bring it up and I spotlight who's been volunteering for things and who's been stepping up and showcasing those that are helping the chorus as a whole. And, just continue to drip the need for, we have an event coming up and we've got chairs for that event and they're still looking for volunteers for this or that. And to be able to continue to push those needs, somebody eventually steps in and takes at least a small bite of the help that's needed.
It's a great idea. I love that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good too.
Thank-
Excellent. Any else?
Betsy.
Betsy.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that when we contracted after COVID and we were small, and which was actually when I joined, I've only been a member for a year and a half. When we kind of had to reorganize and reform our committees, we just kind of made it mandatory that everybody needed to join a committee. And so then at least it's a small group. It's still kind of the 80-20 even within the committees, but at
Mhm.
least that person is included in the meetings and observing what else is happening. And it feels like they're more likely to pitch in when it's a smaller group, like they can't really hide. So we just, we got our new members over the past year, slotted into these smaller committees. And so that seems to have gotten everybody involved at least.
Good.
Well, we're in the middle of defining our job descriptions for all of the jobs that we do throughout the chorus. And the last step will be to then look and see who's doing what. And I think that will be an interesting exercise for the chorus to see who's doing what and where the lack is. So we'll get there, but I just wondered if you were running into the same thing.
Yeah.
And
The other thing that helped us ultimately was we didn't have structured fundraising. Somebody'd say, hey, let's sell, whatever. We end up selling stuff. And it was very random and there was no organization to it. And so we stepped back and said, let's figure out things that work for us. And last year we almost killed the chorus with fundraising, frankly. We just kind of went bam, 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 bam. We had like 4 in a row and we made a boatload of money, which was lovely for us. But we also figured out kind of what works for the chorus and what's harder for them and figuring out the things that kind of work for our culture. And what we're finding is it's events, it's fundraising events. So we have 2 big ones now. We have our Tinsel Tea, which is a performance and an event. And everybody, they all sign up now. They know there's no question. Everybody does a job and they know they're going to get assigned. They actually get assigned a job, but they all show up and they all do it. And then we have our bingo. We have Besties Bags and Bingo. And that, again, they kind of look forward to it. They know, but it took like 3 years. The first year that Sally and I did bingo, it was a lonely, lonely event.
It's a lot of work.
But part of it was sort of over time. Now they know that's coming. It's now just sort of expected and it's no big deal, but it took
Yeah.
a while to get people to be there to go, oh yeah, all right. And they also know now when they sell tickets to bingo, their friends again like bingo, and it's not a big deal to sell a ticket. And it's just
Cool.
amazing to me how reticent sometimes people are to sell a ticket to something. And it's like, well, you're ashamed of it. It's like, why are you ashamed of selling a concert ticket? We're fabulous.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Nice. That's a good attitude. That's a
Yeah.
good presentation.
Yeah.
I would love to hear more about your bingo. I
Yeah.
don't know
Like
when
I-
there's going to be a fundraising meeting, but I'm on the fundraising committee and would love to hear more about that.
Well, we're going to talk about, we're going to do a fundraising spotlight at every financial coordinator meeting.
Oh, cool.
And so we'll have one next week, and I'll
Awesome.
probably do it since I didn't give anybody any warning. But then I'm going to ask each finance person to bring their best ideas. We're probably going to talk about Raise Right next week.
I have a question about that because our finance director is not part of the fundraising committee. So we should have our fundraising people on this meeting then, right?
Sure. It's a lot. I mean, that's
Or
gonna be
one.
a little piece of it. If they want to sit through all the finance stuff, they're welcome to come.
Maybe just one
okay.
person. Yeah. I have to go. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Bye,
Ellie.
Bye. Thank
for
you so
being
much for the
here.
call.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bye.
Hello. Um,
Okay,
So
another
is your-
question.
Do you have a finance person that's on the finance coordinator team?
Who are you asking?
Are you asking me?
Betsy. Yeah.
I hope so. Renita Neuenhuis?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she comes.
Yeah, okay, good. I
Yeah.
thought she was pretty plugged in.
Yeah, so she can be happy to share, or she can bring somebody with her. That's fine.
Okay, maybe I'll come with her if I can. When is that?
Next Saturday at 10
Saturday at 10 Pacific?
Pacific.
Okay,
Mhm. Yes.
okay.
She'll get an invitation, reminder today, as a matter of fact.
Okay, so she probably already has it on her calendar. I guess I don't see that particular meeting as
Yeah,
a team
it's
leader, so
good.
I didn't know about it. Okay.
It's new. We had our first one in August.
Oh, okay, great, great.
Our finance coordinator couldn't have appreciated that meeting more.
Oh, good.
It was so helpful, and different ideas about like QuickBooks and stuff like that. Some ideas saved us a bunch of money, and yeah,
Yep.
it was wonderful. So thank
Excellent.
you.
That was my goal. There's so much wealth of information, and finance coordinators just don't have much opportunity to share. But there's some really smart finance coordinators that are not me, but they are out in the chapters that really know what they're doing. And so
It was helpful.
I learned a ton of stuff at the meeting. It was great.
Great. Mhm. Cool.
That's where I think these are helpful when we talk to each other, ideas, and that's what we can do for each other. And it doesn't cost us anything.
I'm sorry there wasn't better attendance.
Well, I'm sorry for that.
But
Well, it's kind of last
Exactly.
minute. I mean, we had some calendaring.
Yes,
Yeah,
but
it's fine.
yeah.
Yeah. So are we going to have we'll have a regular team leader meeting with you now, Sally? Is that the goal?
Yes. Diana used to do them, or Sharon Stockstead actually used to do them as a membership coordinator, and we switched it over to me with the last meeting. That's the first one I attended. And now this. And so here we are in the middle of October. I suppose if we're doing quarterly, the next one will be middle of January or so, which might be a good time after the holidays settle down and we start looking at what's happening in the new year. So
Pardon me.
I'll send something out to you. We'll plan, or we could pick a date right now if that's good with you.
So this group then meets quarterly. Are there other meetings that I am supposed to be part of that I don't know about? Or would I get an email?
Well,
Are you
you
the team leader?
You're the
Yes.
team leader. This is the only one set up specifically for team leaders, but the marketing one, obviously marketing and finance. And Events doesn't do one.
Well, sounds like Diana's having one today.
Yeah, she is. So that's membership. Trying to think of the other coordinators. Events kind of does their own thing.
In education.
Their education, directors, they have their own.
Okay, good. So then they
Okay,
must
good
have
meeting.
they must have our list of committee people, so they're reaching out to them directly. Okay, good.
We send out the email via our Groupanizer site, the members list. You can sort and ask for what group. So we found that Beth Ann wasn't on there because her role hadn't been changed. So that's another thing we have to keep up with is if people on your team change roles, then we need to. And who do we let know? Sue Middleton right now, or Diana membership. So we can change your role on that list. Otherwise, it doesn't pick you up when we send a group email.
So I
Can
just,
I go in and change that, or is that something?
Yes.
I
Yeah.
can go in and change that? Okay, so I'll sign in and see who's on what list and make sure it's right.
You're right.
Otherwise, Diana has to go in and do it from the international list. So if you can keep yours up, she would love you forever. It's one less thing she's got to do.
Okay, I'll go in and check and make sure. I just want to make sure everybody's getting the right emails to the right
Right.
meetings.
Another thing for you team coordinators to
Yep.
keep track of. Keep
And I'm
up.
terrible. I don't tend to use the Groupanizer list for finance for that very reason. So I actually have everybody's email and I just email them directly.
How did you get it? How did you get the list in the first place?
Because I have access to the SAI database and
Oh, you took it off of there.
I've
Okay,
asked them all and I go and get them updated. Yeah.
okay.
Because I find when I use the Groupanizer list, sometimes not everybody, or it goes to spam
Maybe
because
you
it's a
could get
computer
lists
generated
up
list.
there.
It just has lots of challenges, but yeah, but it is out there.
Okay,
Okay. So back to January, the middle of January, January 18th, right now is open for me. Shall we tentatively set a date of January 18th for another meeting? That's good.
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you again.
Works for me.
It was, we're just about out of time, and I think we made good use of the time we had. So thank you again. And feel free, and I speak to on behalf of the whole RLT, if you have questions about membership or anything, contact a coordinator. They are happy to give you the information or send you to somebody who knows. So don't wait till the next meeting if you have questions. Okay? All right, well,
Very
enjoy
good.
the rest of your weekend. I don't know what it is in your community, but it turned fall like, or winter practically overnight, and we're freezing here today. So do you have snow in Idaho? Is there snow? Anybody have snow yet? No. Yeah, you do. Okay,
Bozeman does. Yep. Bozeman does for sure.
well, you
It
keep
was,
it there.
I think it was 20 degrees last night, but
I guess I shouldn't. go-
not snow.
yeah,
Wow.
we had snow, but it's melted now in the valley. It's just up in the mountains, but we did have snow here in the valley too. Our lawn was covered, so
Yeah,
it's here.
ready for that. All right, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you
Thank
again.
you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.